Thank you, Laura. And welcome, everyone. I'd like to begin by introducing our distinguished artist, Mattia Biagi.
Hi.
Mattia works with the medium of tar to create his sculpture. Next to Mattia is Tom Price, who is a London-based sculptor and designer. To my left is Kako Ueda.
Hello.
Who works with cut and painted paper. And last of all, but not least, Mark Newport, super knitter, embroiderer, photographer, and performance artist. And your work, Mattia, very overtly addresses very specific fairy tales, most as interpreted and recounted by the Brothers Grimm. Can you talk about that incredible carriage from the story of Cinderella that you created specifically for this exhibition?
Yeah. So my approach with my work is very personal. So I try to put more I can from personal experience, personal emotion in the piece. And this specific carriage was built, created in Think for this show. And it was an incredible journey to going back at the superstition thematic that I already started to work in 2006. And what I try to do is constantly don't go back and read the fairy tale, but just go through the emotion. So I'm trying to put my memory, my feeling in the piece itself. Doing this specific piece, I have to learn and develop new technique because first of all, I never work with fiberglass. I never specifically work with metal. So it was a completely new journey in build the structure. Most of the time, I use found object or I collide object. This, it was really built from scratch. So I have to work with sight and I have to start to think about the scale of the piece. It's different when you take something already existing and you put together like the wolf with the mannequin, and visually I can have already an idea. For that piece I just draw on paper and I was not able to image the piece in 3D. So I start to build a shape with the charcoal on a wall. And that gave me the idea how the piece was standing in relation with the human figure. And I'm very tall, so at the beginning the piece was very high, and I invited some friends at the studio, and I realized that the piece was too tall, and it was not giving me the idea of a fairy tale, but more like a real carriage that I just got in town. So I play around with sight to arrive at the right balance of reality and fairy tale. And then from there, usually my work is seen very static because the way that the tar drip is give this static effect. So I play with turning the wheels to give this effect of movement. And also the way that I drip the tar on the carriage is not from the top to the bottom, but there's more like movement, so that the light can reflect in a different way. So that is how it's come out.
But could you talk a little bit about why the story of Cinderella and why the title of the work Before Midnight?
That is very, very personal again. So I grew up with a figure of my father that is very obsessed, how do you say, obsessed with timing. And when I was a kid, I had to come back at midnight, like the Cinderella story. And his own story, if you come back 2 minutes late, you're not going to go out next week. I was like, yeah, whatever. So the first night, I went out and I come back at 12 or 3, something like that. And I was like, oh, just 3 minutes, not a big deal. The week after, I stay home. So this fear of timing and being time is what I want to like represent with the piece, because the story is like, if you don't come back, you're, you know, gonna transform into something else. So you have to go through different process that no one ever teach me, because I have to learn how to work with that specific material. And I don't know if everyone has seen a piece of tar when it's the original form. So it's like a rock. It needs to be chopped, so there's a lot of movement already from the beginning. So there's a lot of me involved in preparation of the piece.
You personally chop the tar?
Yeah. I love to do everything. I love to be on top of my piece in any sense. So from the beginning to the end. And so you have to chop this huge rock, and from there I have to bring a certain temperature using different tools. And from there I have to play with time, and we're going back to the conversation that we had before about time. So I have to work in a certain time range that I'm like totally involved in making the piece that is a sort of like meditation. So I really lose the control of time, and I know that I have to stay in time, because the tar is dry so fast that it's not allowed me to create this drip or certain other like movement. And I learn from journey how to use water to cold the process of healing. Because one day I was working in an outdoor space, I was doing this project that was covering the tree. It was a dead tree already, I'm not killing the tree. It was a dead tree, and it was covering it with tar, and it started to rain. And I was like, oh my God, no, why it starts to rain? But actually that specific day, I discovered that if I spray water when the tar is drip, I can control the drip. So now there's a different technique. I use ice. When I can frozen the object, I try to put in the refrigerator and throw. I cannot do with the carrots. Thanks to my friend, we started to talk how I can do this, because as soon as I drip the first spoon, because I work with a teaspoon, as soon as I put the first teaspoon on a carrot, it's melted. And I was like, oh my God, no, how I can do this thing. So my friend's like, oh, I use this spray for injuries. So that when you have an injury, you have this spray, and it's really cold. It's like ice. So every single inch of that piece is done with this spray. And I have to do in step, because the metal, like everyone knows, is absorb the hot, and is bring the hot back to the piece, and it was melting again. So I have to work in different phases. That's why I work constantly more than one piece at a time, because there's like, usually I do 4 steps with the tar. So the first one that is very, very hot, so just to give the first coat, so to outline the shape and the object. The second one I start to do the first line. The third one I give all the different like texture, and the last one is the drip. So for me it was a learning process. Every time that I do something, I discover something new, and there's this involvement on the work that I really enjoy. Travel from California to here, and to be on the road, I try to reinforce it more than I can. So for many of them inside, there's a clear fishing cable. So using that is allowed the tar to keep the flexibility, most important part of the feeling that the courage pass to people, the fragility of life and fragility of every human being, but at the same time it's pretty strong. So it's kind of like a plane with this piece itself. That's why I made the frame very strong, because the frame is a solid steel, and through the tar is going to preserve the piece again. So yeah, it's very strong.